You're watching CNN and this is Connect the World. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Welcome back. Well, Puerto Rico is bracing for what could be another devastating storm, while the island is still trying to recover from Hurricane Maria 2 years ago. Here's what Tropical Storm Dorian looks like right now. It has strengthened near hurricane status and it is expected to grow even stronger. Hurricane warnings have just been issued for several islands in the Caribbean, and a state of emergency has been declared ahead of that storm. Well, Puerto Rican officials say flooding is the main concern. CNN's Omar Jimenez joins us now from Humacao in Puerto Rico. Good to have you with us. So this has been building strength. It has changed course overnight. You're in Puerto Rico, where it's expected to hit the same side impacted by Hurricane Maria.
It is, Lynda, on the eastern portion of this island. Now, Hurricane Maria, even though it hit close to 2 years ago, is still very much top of mind, even though it was a very different system than what Dorian is right now. But they saw the devastation that that brought, and this time around, they just don't want to take any chances, especially with the forecast now calling for up to 10 inches of rain in some portions, especially here on the eastern side of the island. Flooding, of course, remains a top concern, but officials here have also not taken any chances in regards to infrastructure. The Coast Guard has shut down ports. Airports have canceled flights as well. And they are trying to prioritize people who, in some cases, are still dealing with damage from Hurricane Maria. Some people that have tarped roofs, some people with homes that just don't have the infrastructure to withstand tropical storm force winds. They have been trying to make a huge effort to get them from their homes into shelters as they begin to prepare to ride this system out that, again, just seems to continue strengthening by the minute, really, at this point. What we have experienced so far is that we've experienced bands, outer bands coming in and out over the course of this morning. Obviously, at the very moment, we are on one of those out portions, but it will be in just a few hours where there will be no more in and out. We will be fully in it, and the torrential downpour of rain will begin.
All right, Omar Jimenez, we will be speaking to you again very shortly. Thanks so much. I want to stay on this story and bring in CNN meteorologist Chad Myers, who's tracking the storm. And Chad, we saw it changing course overnight, not only heading for Puerto Rico, now heading for Florida this weekend, which is a long weekend here in the U.S., where many people typically head to the beach.
That is exactly right. And if you're heading to the beach in Florida, you may be heading home on Saturday because you're in an evacuation zone. It could be that bad. Now, what's considered a Category 3 hurricane, somewhere in the neighborhood of 185 kilometers per hour, is expected somewhere along the Florida or Georgia Gulf Coast by Sunday into Monday. The storm is really intensifying now over St. Croix. Although St. Croix, you're almost in the eye, so you may not feel it. But certainly Charlotte Amalie, the USVI, the BVI, all will be feeling this rapid intensification here of the white bands. That's the higher cloud tops of a very strong storm about to explode and get much stronger. Now, the good news is it didn't happen 100 miles farther to the south or 200 kilometers farther to the south, or it would be already a bigger storm. It'll be somewhere at 120 kph by later tonight, but the bigger story is the wider picture. As it goes to the north of the Turks and Caicos into the Bahamas, we're looking at a landfall, and they have to think anywhere from South Florida all the way to Georgia, maybe even South Carolina, at 185 kilometers per hour storm. And that's a significant rise just from the forecast of 6 hours ago, where we were somewhere in the ballpark of about 150, 155 kph. So here is the radar. There's the eye of the storm. There's St. Croix right there. I have visited that little island right there. There's Charlotte Amalie up in here, and then all the way up toward the BVI there. So the storm getting much stronger and moving into the USVI. We know it's getting stronger because there's a Hurricane Hunter aircraft, a C-130 flying through it. And you say to yourself, why would they possibly use a prop plane, a propeller, to fly through it? Because if you're flying in a jet and you go with the wind, it actually can put the flame out. And with propeller, that won't happen. Better them than me, Lynda.
Yes, indeed. Or me, Chad Myers. Good to have you with us. Thanks.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Well, let's make a deal. A pharmaceutical giant blamed for igniting the opioid epidemic in the U.S. is said to be trying to do just that, to settle thousands of lawsuits. Purdue Pharma is accused of misleading the public about the addiction risks its prescription painkiller OxyContin. Now, it's as part of a settlement proposal. The Sackler family reportedly is willing to relinquish ownership of Purdue Pharma and pay out billions of dollars of its own money. Well, CNN's Erica Hill joins us now from New York. And Erica, faced with thousands of lawsuits, this seems like an extraordinary way to stop the bleeding from this company.
Well, it's interesting, in reaching out to them, I can tell you that CNN has confirmed that Purdue Pharma is in talks to potentially settle upwards of 2,000 opioid lawsuits. How this would work out, just to point out here, some of these cases actually have been rolled into one case in Ohio, and the federal judge in that case was urging the parties to talk about a settlement. And that's part of what got us to where we are at today. So the settlement could be in the $10 to $12 billion range. And as you alluded to, NBC News is reporting that as part of that settlement, and the New York Times and the Washington Post also reporting that the Sackler family would then give up essentially its control of the company. It would have to put in the family $1 to $3 billion of their own money as part of this settlement. Now, in terms of what's happening with it, we can tell you that in a statement from Purdue, the company said that they do intend to defend itself vigorously, but that they see little good coming from years of wasteful litigation and appeals. That obviously the take from the company as to what this could do and whether this could end perhaps other legal fights. That is a major question that people are looking at today. We've been talking a lot about these settlements and about these lawsuits this week because you'll recall earlier this week, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay more than $500 million in the state of Oklahoma. We should point out in Oklahoma, Purdue actually settled with the state there back in March to the tune of $270 million.
Fascinating case. Erica Hill, good to have you with us on this story. Thanks so much. Well, I want to go to Brazil now, where it says it will accept an offer from Britain to contribute $12 million towards fighting wildfires in the Amazon rainforest. Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, had been reluctant to take international aid, accusing some leaders of treating Brazil like a colony. Well, efforts to fight the fires seem to be working. International monitors say the burning has decreased in recent days and is now below average for this time of year. Well, journalist Shasta Darlington joins us now from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Shasta, will they, won't they accept aid? That's what we've been discussing for several days after Brazil seemed to reject the $20 million offered by the G7, a pretty modest amount. It sounds like they're now open to getting more help.
That's right, Lynda. I think what this also shows is that the issue with the G7 had really turned very personal. So rather than it being so much about whether or not to accept foreign aid, it had turned into this really personal bickering and war of words between Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and French President Emmanuel Macron, who called the fires here an international crisis, said that he would raise it at the G7 at a time when Bolsonaro was still sort of shrugging off the fires, saying, oh no, it's those NGOs that are lighting the blazes to make me look bad. So really Macron's comments put him on the spot, forced Bolsonaro to act, and also made him very defensive. And from there, things did get personal. But as you said, the latest is that Brazil is going to accept the $20 million in international aid from the G7 as long as it can control it, as long as it can administer it, even though we did hear again from Bolsonaro this morning saying he expects for Macron to withdraw those insults. They're also accepting the 10 million pounds in aid from Great Britain, some technical aid from Israel, and Bolsonaro announced this morning that the Amazon countries, Colombia, Bolivia, Brazil, etc., will be meeting in Colombia on September 6th to talk about some kind of a concerted effort to fight the fires and, as he said it, talk about sustainable development in the region. So we are seeing a bit more coordination here, Lynda.
And so we did initially hear that Brazil was mobilizing 43,000 troops. Do we know how many have actually been deployed? And given we're seeing these satellite images seem to show that the fire activity is decreasing, does it suggest that it's working?
Well, Lynda, the information we have is that only 2,500 of those troops have been deployed. But as you said, these latest satellite images are indicating that fire activity has diminished, that it's now at normal levels or even below normal levels. So that would indicate there has been an impact. I think one of the concerns here is what the long-term effects of all of these out-of-control fires will be. Now they've brought some of them under control. We still have a ways to go. The peak burning season is really September, so we can't let our guard down. And at the same time, a lot of territory has been burned. What that will mean for this vast reserve that's about the size of 2/3 of Europe, largely uninhabited by people, but obviously with an incredibly diverse plant and animal life, will yet to be seen, and it'll probably take months to determine what that impact has been, Lynda.
Absolutely. Shasta Darlington, good to have you on this story. We will continue to follow it. Thanks so much. Well, you are watching Connect the World. Still to come, political pandemonium in the UK. The Queen approving a request to suspend Parliament just months before the Brexit deadline. We're going to have more on our top story when we come back. Stay with us.